Fluorescent lights bore down from the ceiling like something alive, painfully bright in a way that made no sense to anyone but me. My eyes burned from the glare, but that sensation meant nothing compared to what existed inside my skull. Someone had lived an entire lifetime while I slept, and now I was trying to fit all that experience into a body that felt too small for what I knew. 3 days, the doctors told me. That's how long I'd been unconscious after a freeway accident that had somehow turned into induced coma for observation. They called me lucky. Nothing serious, they said. I'd walk away from this with minimal damage. But lucky doesn't describe what I felt. I carried years of apocalypse inside me. Years of watching civilization collapse when the power went out and never came back. Years of hospitals becoming tombs, streets becoming hunting grounds, and trust becoming something nobody could afford. My memories held the smell of basement hideaways where I'd sheltered for weeks. The taste of water that tasted like metal and despair. Silence so complete it felt like deafness. The calendar on the wall confirmed November 15th, 3 days since the accident on November 12th. Yet my mind contained something else entirely. Something that had happened in a future that wasn't supposed to occur. My nurse didn't notice something fundamental was wrong when she checked my vitals and smiled. She asked if I needed anything for pain. I wanted to grab her hand and tell her to go home right now and fill every bathtub with water, because in less than 48 hours, every light on this planet would go out. Instead, I asked what year it was. She laughed a little and told me 2024, November 2024. I closed my eyes and tried to reconcile how someone could live through years of apocalypse in the time it took to sleep for a few days. The urgency. When they let me sit up, I asked for a calendar and the nurse assumed I was confused from the coma. Trauma does that, she explained with the compassionate voice used for someone possibly damaged. She didn't understand that I was the only person in this entire city who actually knew what was about to happen in less than 48 hours. I counted on my fingers. 48 hours before every electrical plant in the region shut down simultaneously. Before every backup system failed. Before hospitals lost their lights and every device that depended on current simply ceased functioning. I knew the exact moment it would occur because I had lived through it. I knew the grid would collapse and why. I knew it wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. It was planned. I grabbed my doctor's hand during rounds and explained everything. The collapse coming. The date and time. Everything I retained from years somehow compressed into a few days of sleep. He listened patiently with the expression of someone who'd heard this story many times before. When I finished, he asked about hallucinations before the accident, stress at work, medications. He was assessing me for psychosis. I tried with the resident, then the nurse, explaining specific knowledge about how the collapse would spread. Hospitals would lose backup capacity in the basement first. Water treatment would fail within hours. Supermarkets would be stripped by the first night. Most people would stay home believing the power would return. When they ventured outside, there would be chaos. Everybody listened the way you listen to someone very ill and making less sense by the moment. With patience. With compassion. With absolute certainty that I wasn't well. By afternoon, they wanted to keep me longer for psychological observation. I understood what they meant. I had to leave. 48 hours wasn't much time, and I couldn't spend it being evaluated by doctors who thought my memories were symptoms of disorder. I pulled out my IV while the nurse was down the hallway, changed out of the medical gown into clothes my sister had brought, and walked out with the confidence of someone who had nothing left to lose. My mother made a sound I'd never heard from her when she saw me at the door wearing medical bands around my wrist. Something between grief and relief, like she'd prepared herself for bad news but found something different. I told her to get everyone home immediately. My brother, my sister, anyone in the family within driving distance. We had maybe 6 hours, and we needed to prepare. She thought I was still disoriented from the accident, so I unplugged the phone. I started filling every bathtub, hot water as fast as it would flow. My mother stood in the hallway asking what was happening and should she call an ambulance. I told her to either help or get out of the way. My brother arrived first. He worked in IT, which meant he understood infrastructure in ways most people didn't. When I explained the cascade failure and how the attack would hit every power grid simultaneously, he actually listened. Not because he believed me, but because he understood the theoretical possibility. I showed him news websites already reporting small power fluctuations in different cities. Intentional probes testing the system. I explained, finding weak points. The main assault would happen in less than 6 hours. He wanted to verify the information, call friends in the industry, see if there were warnings. We didn't have time to verify anything. We had time to prepare or time to die in total darkness. My sister showed up with her daughter, and my dad kept pacing and asking if I should be out of the facility. We filled bathtubs, gathered every flashlight, every battery, every candle. I explained which foods wouldn't spoil without electricity and which ones we should eat first. Then I made a prediction. Small one. I told them the traffic light at 5th and Main would stop functioning in 23 minutes. Not from the major attack. Just a test. Just to prove I wasn't insane. We watched the clock and pulled up a traffic camera on my brother's phone. At exactly the moment I predicted, the light went dark for 17 minutes. Just long enough for a car accident and for the camera to capture the exact moment the signal died. My dad stopped questioning whether I needed to go back to the hospital. My sister stopped treating it like a game. My brother started making lists of what we still needed. 12 minutes remained before the entire electrical system shut down. We were sitting in the living room when it happened. No warning, no dramatic moment. Just a sound like reality shutting down, and every light in the house went out simultaneously. The hum of current that I'd never consciously noticed before simply ceased to exist. Silence followed, complete and absolute. I heard my dad's breathing, my brother's hand fumbling for a flashlight, my sister's daughter asking if it would be scary. I had experienced this moment before, but enduring it the second time somehow felt worse because this time I was conscious for it. This time I understood exactly what was happening in hospitals across the city, in server rooms, in traffic systems, in every place that depended on electricity to keep people alive. I turned on the flashlight I was holding, and the beam looked impossibly bright. My family huddled around it like people who suddenly understood they had been living on the edge of an abyss, and nobody had warned them. Except someone had. I had. We sat and listened to the city outside change. First came the absence of sound. No car horns, no ambient noise from distant traffic, no electronic hum. Just silence. Then came the sound of accidents, as people suddenly lost all light, and all signals, and all understanding of where they were. Crashes in the distance. Shouts. The sound of a city realizing at the exact same moment that something fundamental had broken. My dad asked how long it would last. I told him the truth. Years. Minimum several before anyone figured out how to restore the grid at scale, and most people would surrender before then or do terrible things to survive. My sister's daughter asked if we would die. I thought about the version of me that had died in a basement hiding from people who had become something less than human. I told the truth. I said we had supplies, water, light, a house, a family, each other. The darkness would test us and change us, but we would survive it. That's when I heard the footsteps outside. Slow footsteps moved through our yard, deliberate and testing each step. My brother moved toward the window, and I grabbed his arm and pulled him back. "You don't want to know who that is," I whispered. "You really don't." My dad asked what was happening, and my voice sounded like someone else's when I spoke. Someone who had learned that some truths destroy everything they touch. I had remembered something as I sat in total silence with my family. A memory from deep within those vanished years. I had seen someone else in that basement where I'd sheltered. Someone who was also conscious during what had happened. Someone who had survived not by hiding, but by hunting. I had seen their face, and in that recollection, I recognized them. They were wearing a doctor's coat in the hospital hallway when I woke up 3 days ago. Dr. Marcus Webb. And he had been watching me with something that wasn't concern. Recognition. As those footsteps moved closer to our house, I understood what that meant. He had survived years. He had remembered the future and prepared like I had. But unlike me, he had prepared by understanding which resources would matter most in a world without electricity. He had survived by becoming the most dangerous thing in total silence. And now he had found me. I looked at my family sitting around a single flashlight and realized I had made a terrible mistake. I had saved them from immediate starvation, dehydration, and the panic of the first night. But I had made us visible, supplied, protected. I had made us targets. The footsteps stopped outside our front door. For a long moment, nothing happened. just breathing. Ours and someone else's. Then I heard a voice come through the door. Calm, professional. But underneath it, something that didn't sound quite human. "I remember you from before," the voice said. "You survived longer than most. I'm curious to see if you make it this time." And in the silence, I understood the truth. This wasn't the first time I'd lived through a collapse like this. I hadn't just recovered forgotten memories. I was reliving it all again. And if the pattern held, this version of me would die in the silence, just like the previous one. Unless I could find a way to break the cycle. Or unless he reached us first.